Hey, good morning from the office. I'm your host, BKP. We're North Georgia's only live online morning show. And there are all the ways to get in touch with us on social media. And there you go on our YouTube channel, Twitter, Instagram, and then chief@fetchernews.com. And our phone number there, Chief at Fetcher News, our phone number 24/7. And put our other, there it is. Okay. And put that at the bottom. There you go. And then put that at the bottom of the screen. I don't know how she had it yesterday, but good morning. I like all of that. There you go. So put that top one down in the bottom corner and let's get this party started. Okay. We have a lot to do today. Now, every year, Georgia House Speaker, give me, I think let me see what it is there. Give me number 12. Every year, Georgia House Speaker David Ralston has a pre-legislative press conference every year. I go down to it. Everybody asks questions to see what may take place during the session for that year. What are the bills that may come up? What are the hot topics of the year for the legislative session? And I know this past year, I don't think there was an intention to have any controversial bills. It's election year. A lot of Georgia Republicans are in some competitive districts. Republicans have lost a couple Senate seats and a couple House seats. So I think this past legislative session in Georgia, the interest was to make it as non-controversial. So I went to the pre-legislative session press conference, as I always do, and then COVID hit. The last real uninterrupted day of session was qualifying day. Qualifying day, everybody showed up. We were not in masks yet. We were still shaking hands. Some people were bumping elbows, whatever. And then next thing you know, the lights went dark under the Gold Dome and everybody went home and dispersed like rats fleeing the ship. No, I shouldn't say that, right? Then we had 10 days left. We went to crossover and we had 10 days left, okay? And there was a mad rush to go down there and get as much done in 10 days. And at that time, there's a budget with declining, for the state of Georgia, with declining sales tax revenue that had to be put together, $26 billion budget. And then there hate crime. And so 10 days crammed in there, hate crime bill, $26 billion budget, cuts, and more cuts. And now it's July 1st. And I'm having a post-legislative session 2020 interview. Every year, Georgia House Speaker David Ralston comes on the show right after session is over, the week after. And who would have ever thought that show or the date would be July 1st, just a couple days before 4th of July. But yes, we are going to have House Speaker David Ralston at 9 o'clock. He will be our guest for 30 minutes, and we're going to go over what was cut. Business liability. COVID-19. The reopening of businesses without the liability that you got sick there, and now you have COVID. All right, so let's go to number 13. Tomorrow, just a quick programming note for tomorrow that we will have out. This is Madison Cawthorn, okay? Madison Cawthorn. He is the Republican Party candidate, okay? Republican Party candidate in the 11th district, former Freedom Caucus member Mark Meadows, who is now chief of staff for the president of the United States, and Madison Hawthorne won. Linda Bennett, Republican opponent for that special election over in the 11th district of North Carolina. He has put his name in. You will see the national media. Now, the national media has only been really interested in this young man. He's 24 years old. For my opinion, is because President Trump tweeted out his support for his opponent. And the media loves the fact they don't write his opponent's name. They just say, this guy won against a Trump-endorsed opponent. And that's what they've enjoyed, trying to say the 11th District of North Carolina doesn't have those Trump coattails it once did. I think this guy tomorrow, we're going to probably approach it for the first time since he won the election in a different direction. Yes, that's what I think. All right, so let's do this. Let's start. Do you know who this guy is? Number one. Right. Number one. Do you know that guy? He's the father of the 16-year-old that got killed. Where else? Chop, Seattle. Father of the 16-year-old. Number 24, once again, the media wants us to start our day going into the holiday saying this Suffolk University USA Today poll, number 24, has Trump down again, 41-53. Now, this is a national poll, okay? National poll, all right? And here's another one. This is the good news. We were down 14 just 2 weeks ago. Nobody wants to talk about that, but here is number 21, number 54%, number 21, 54-44. We're only down 10 now. Do you believe the polls? No, I believe there's more in the 10-point margin. I know where they poll, the areas they poll in, and you and I are not getting a phone call. No, out of 1,000 polled. Okay, let me see that one more time and see if I can get that. Did they even put that on there? Among 3,577 registered voters between June 16th and the 22nd, okay? June 16th and the 22nd. That's when this data was. Are you part of the 3,577? No, not North Georgia. They're not going to call into the 9th district. They're not going to make 100 of those calls into the 9th district. No. So there we go. What else is on the list today? What do we have that we want to talk about today? Oh, let's go to number 43 because this is something we talked about a long time ago. This is a pretty good guy. I mean, Mitch McConnell is going to go Armano. Is that what it's called? I don't know. Right? Man to man? Oh, Amy's her name. I'm sorry. Just thought it was like Rachel Maddow's sister. I don't know. Amy McGrath has fended off her Democrat opponents and will be taking on Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell. Did you not think every time Andy Schiff, the Schiff piece of Schiff or whatever, everybody loves that, right? The piece of Schiff. Hold on, I got it here somewhere. Okay. Oh, by the way, let's go here. Number 14. We got a lot. Number 14. Mississippi flag Gov. Reeves signs bill taking down state flag with ceremony at the mansion there. He is taken down. He's going to take down the state flag. Mississippi. It's done. It's over. Battle flag embedded into your state flag. It's gone. Gone, done, over with. We don't have to deal with that anymore, right? So Mark McCloskey, is that his name? He's going on all the shows. Went on Tucker last night. St. Louis Circuit investigator, whatever she is, Kimberly Gardner. She's highly disturbed of them holding their guns on private property. There will be an investigation because these people were peaceful protesters. Whoa. Kimberly, let's have them right there on your front yard. So if anybody out there has a tent, has nowhere to go 4th of July, let's just pitch that tent in Kimberly's front yard and peacefully get a cookout going, maybe a little volleyball. Just saying. Just saying. Do you know this girl, number 3? This is what Harvard produces. Number 3, okay? This is the peaceful protest. The peaceful protest. Can you identify that video there, or do I have to find it for you? You have that video of her. It's like 14 seconds or whatever, what she's going to do if she bumps into you and you say white lives matter. If you have that, play that.
Next person who has the sheer nerve, the sheer entitled caucasity to say all lives matter, I'm gonna stab you. I'm gonna stab you. And while you're struggling and bleeding out, I'm gonna show you my paper cut and say, my cut matters too.
Sorry, I just have to take a couple notes. I gotta practice caucasity. And the next person that says white lives, all lives matter, she's going to cut your ass. She's going to cut your ass. The caucasity of you to say all lives matter. She's going to cut your ass, and then she's going to say, oh, look at my paper cut. Whoa, that's hate speech, right? Is that under those hate speech? Hate, is that a hate law crime, hate crime, right? Holy mackerel. So Joe holds a press conference. And this is what it looks like, number 5, right? He wants you to believe he's following the doctor's orders. Joe said yesterday, Joe Biden said, if elected, he will return. He will return the U.S. back to its full authority of the deep state. He didn't say that. Okay, look here. They have somebody go in advance and do the circles. The circles, all right? Then they put a chair in the middle, and then they let a reporter sit in the chair. Okay, I'm not joking. That's what it looks like. Now, Joe said yesterday, where is it at? I got it here somewhere. Boom, boom, boom. Joe, what did Joe say? Joe said, if, here it is. We've waved the white flag. Number 31. Okay? Number 31. Joe said, the campaign said Biden, if elected, would give Dr. Anthony Fauci, who appears to have been sidelined by the administration's response to the pandemic. Okay? He seems to have been sidelined by the administration's response to the pandemic. Full access. If I win, Fauci gets full access to the Oval Office, an uncensored platform to speak directly to the American people, whether delivering good news or bad news. Now, so right here, the campaign says this, okay? So when you hear people like myself say, Biden will not run his administration, right here you go, okay? Because Fauci has had direct control over shutdowns, economic collapse, okay? I have friends that are cancer doctors, general practitioners, counselors. I've talked to multiple people that are concerned about the wide range of health problems going on in this country that are going unaddressed because of political capital from COVID-19 trying to end Donald Trump's chances at a second term. Is the bottom line. Here he says the campaign said if elected, he would give Dr. Anthony Fauci, who appears to be sidelined by the administration's response to the pandemic, full access to the Oval Office and the uncensored platform to speak directly to the American people, whether delivering good news or bad. Now, we're going to come back. Wait a minute. Let me do this. Are you going to look at 42? We have this massive, okay? We have this massive push to defund law enforcement, okay? If you have time today, I want to give you is his name Bernie Kerik? He's the former chief of police in New York City, okay, with Rudy Giuliani, all right? Now, 1994, I think that's it. You can do the research, okay? 1994, David Dinkins is mayor of New York City. Have you vacationed with your family in New York City? Right? Have you gone down to Broadway? Right on Broadway where the lights are. Times Square. Have you been to Times Square? Did you take your family? Now, when Rudy Giuliani became mayor, when Rudy Giuliani became mayor of New York City, it took about 2 years for him to clean the place up with Bernie Kerik, okay? And that meant you can then go at night with your family and enjoy Times Square and go to the shops and actually push your baby carriage down Times Square, your buggy, and take your kids and say, wow. This is the Department of Community Safety and Violence Prevention. Look up Bernie Kerik in his interviews right now and see what he's saying about New York City soon to look like 1994 and David Dinkins. Now, I know this for a fact, okay? I got to be careful with how I know this. I have to figure out how do I report this. Okay, I'm just saying. I heard this from a friend in 1994 at 10 o'clock at night on Saturday night or Friday night, right? On Broadway. No, I just know this, right? Broadway, Giuliani cleaned it up. Broadway was nothing but XXX movie theaters. Well, there were still Broadway shows. I got it. XXX movie theaters. You know, flim-flam shops. You know, knockoff cameras with one letter missing. All right. Get a fake ID. I don't know how I know that, but you could go there at that time and get a fake ID back in the days. Anyhow, that being said, I didn't do that. Come on. I'm just being serious. Department of Community Safety and Violence Prevention. New York City is going to go back in the dump so fast. Not that de Blasio hasn't pushed it in the dump already, okay? It is going to go back into the dump so fast. Here are some of the pictures. They talk about CHOP and the autonomous zone in CHOP. Nobody's talking about outside City Hall in New York City. Well, they are talking about it, but very few. You won't find it on MSNBC because they're considered, what are they considered? Black Lives Matter is being considered the civil rights movement of our time. It's not a civil rights movement, folks. Number 6. This is outside City Hall, okay? You know, if this was Woodstock, at least if you put a stage up and Jimi Hendrix playing the guitar or something. I mean, this is like a music fest. Here's number 7. Not everybody wearing a mask. Not everybody social distancing. Everybody laying on the dirty ground on a tarp. This is all right. Number 7. Number 8, City Hall Autonomous Zone. This is what community looks like. Number 9, here's the bread and sandwich station. You can get bread and sandwiches here. Number 10, they do have rules. No mask, no service. Can't get any service if you don't have your mask. They even have, I tell you what, this is new. They even have number 11, a reading station. Okay. All right. The People Library. Okay. For Black Lives Matter. A reading station. They even have their own library. Okay. When we come back, we're going to look at some video here in New York City. We're going to talk about this a little bit. What is this going to look like? I hope they don't defund the counterterrorist department. Anyhow, let's take a break. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Circuit World has 9-piece living room packages at incredible prices. Get this stylish sofa and love seat, 3 tables, 2 lamps, 43-inch 4K TV, and stand, all for only $1699.99 or $129.99 a month. Or get this 9-piece living room and reclining sofa and reclining love seat, now only $1999.99 or $149.99 a month. These packages are amazing. Stop in today at one of our 5 locations and get the furniture you've always wanted at Circuit World.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Ace is your helpful place for paint and home goods, tools, outdoor living, and lawn equipment. But did you know Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge is a little bit more? We have hunting rifles and accessories for your next hunting trip. We have Amish furniture imported directly from Ohio. And we have Ace Custom Woodworks for all your custom wood project needs, from cabinets to artwork. Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge, we have your new house in stock.
As Georgia opens back up, it's time to come back to Days Chevrolet in Jasper with huge savings on the North Georgia Mountain's biggest selection of pre-owned vehicles. All makes, all models, all with low miles and a super low price. Or buy new and get 0% financing for 72 months on every single Silverado 1500 or Equinox at Days Chevrolet in Jasper. Days Chevrolet. Days gets it done. Find new roads.
Okay, we're back. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. What will happen? Will the American people accept this? Will this cause a landslide for President Donald Trump? Now, we have seen Paul and Patricia McCoskey, all right, on the front lawn in St. Louis. Okay, these are not big time Republicans. They're not, okay? They're defending their property. Then you have a Harvard student. Can you have that TikTok video one more time, 14 seconds, okay? This is going around. Is that you send this. This is real. If we can get that one up, I want to put this all together. This young lady says that if she hears, if you have the, what the hell is it? Caucasian. Do you have that 14-second video? If you
Next person who has the sheer nerve, the sheer entitled caucasity to say all lives matter, I'm gonna stab you. I'm gonna stab you. And while you're struggling and bleeding out, I'm gonna show you my paper cut and say, my cut matters too.
So if you have the caucasity, okay, to live your life, if you have the caucasity to not be upset that you're white this morning, if you have the caucasity, okay, the nerve to be white, caucasity will probably make Webster's dictionary, caucasity will be probably the nerve to admit you're white. There you go. If you have the nerve to admit you're white, I will stab. Will this happen? Now, will this scare? Okay. Now, you got to look it up. The St. Louis Circuit District Attorney, Kimberly Gardner, wants to investigate Mark and Patricia on their private property. Now, de Blasio wants a $1 billion cut. All right. Number 39. These are some clips from the Daily Mail across the sea in the UK. You don't see a lot of these stories like this in the United States. Hundreds of protesters have set up camp inside City Hall, we showed you pictures, in Manhattan to demand at least $1 billion to be cut from the New York City Police Department and shifting towards community resources before the city's July 1st budget. On Monday, Mayor de Blasio agreed to cut the city's police budget by canceling to hire 1,000 new police officers and shifting school safety officers from police control to the Department of Education. Now, that's really what we wanted, was the Department of Education to have their own police force now. 1979, Department of Education, the New York City Department of Education, which is under the big umbrella Department of Education, which we have watched take over our kids, now needs to have its own police force. Department of Education, law enforcement. Whoa. But protesters push today, not taxpayers. You understand, not taxpayers, okay? Go through this crowd and find out how many of these people are actually working taxpayers. That how many of these people get their paycheck on Friday and say, damn that FICA. If I ever run into FICA, I'm going to kick FICA's ass. Find out how many of these people in the crowd understand. Are you paying into Social Security? Man, Social Security is just a white thing, man, that they brought on the brother. What the hell? I'm just asking. Do you not know what it is? No, man. It's all something to be brought down on the brother. It's from the man. You can't trust the man. Do you have the caucasity to ask me that question? You have the nerve? Okay, but protesters say this falls short of their demands and clashes between protests. Don't you wish taxpayers had that much power in their demands on how to spend their money? This is taxpayer money, Jack. Taxpayer money. Black Lives Matter domestic terrorist group. Terrorists are demanding how taxpayer money is spent Are you waking up? Huh? You going to roll out to work this morning? I'm going to go pay my taxes. So if I need services and I call services, they'll come to my house. They'll clean my roads. They'll cut the trees that hang over. Services and taxes go hand in hand. Are you singing along down the road? Because let me tell you something. How to spend your tax money is being pushed by non-tax paying domestic terrorists. Terrorists are telling us how to use our tax money. Okay, so between protesters and the police began to break out on Tuesday. Can you get that video to play with the protesters and the police clashing? That's a tough one to get to play. Are you going to be able to get that one? Because I want to do a little more on this. If you could do that, I want the protesters and the police. Okay, that one is the one in Detroit the other night where the cops are trying to get through. I'm talking about the other one. So let's play the one you had, but let's get the other one on New York City. This is this past weekend in Detroit, I think it is, or the other night in Detroit. Yeah, police officers trying to get through to do their job and protesters, and they finally just got to run their asses over. So go ahead and play that one and get the one with New York City ready. Now let's see the one in New York City. This is the one from New York City, if you can get that one in.
Give up! Stop trying! We're on the sidewalk! You told us to go on the sidewalk! We listen to you! We listen to you!
Okay, these are the domestic terrorist, Black Lives Matter group / Soros friends, anarchists, thugs, all the above, that are probably not paying any taxes, demanding and protesting what happens to your tax money. Where the hell does de Blasio think he gets the money? I don't have time to go into that because all of these politicians feel they're entitled to take your money and do what they want. Will this wake up America and alarm America before now and November 3rd? I think so. So let's go to, this is what happened. Let's go to, let's see, give me number 40. This is the headline of that article, number 40. New York City votes to cut $1 billion from the NYPD budget. $1 billion. I hope not the counter-terrorist budget. Now, I keep saying this, and you don't want me to alarm people, and I'm not trying to scare you. I do never want to use this show as an opportunity to scare the audience in any way whatsoever. But I, for one, remember where I was at the morning on 9/11, okay? I, for one, remember the towers. I, for one, remember the planes going through, okay? Now, if you out there believe the towers were brought down by our government, whatever, that's your right. Freedom of speech, freedom of to think what the hell you want. Good. But I am very concerned that why the chaos is being, nobody is watching the chaos in this country, is a perfect time for somebody to get something on a flight. You might not like that. It's a perfect time. Scares the hell out of me with all of these cuts, okay? And police officers going for the good police officers, putting in for early retirement. I talked to a first responder from Atlanta the other day. I was on the phone with a first responder in Atlanta, Is this true? Yes, absolutely. It's true. They are putting in at record numbers for their retirement. They are calling in and using all their time off. New York City votes to cut $1 billion from the NYPD budget after cops clash with protesters outside City Hall's autonomous zone. What the hell? For the seventh day, as demonstrators say, the move is not enough. Okay. Here is what number 41. Okay. New York City Council voted to pass 2021 budget on Tuesday, cutting $1 billion from police funding. A majority of the 32 lawmakers voted via teleconference to pass the budget minutes shy of the midnight deadline, and 17 voted against it. So 17 voted no. $484 million will be cut from the department's $6 billion operation budget, while another $354 billion will be shifted to education and social services. What's going on? We're tearing down monuments in history, okay? We're tearing down our history, but we're repeating our history here. Now, why defund the cops, okay? Now, this is going to be offensive to some of you, all right? All of you, if you're my age, let's just go with my age, you remember where the crazy house was. And you always whisper it, 7-7. They were in the crazy house. I know, don't get mad at me. All right. Where'd you get your girlfriend? Out of the crazy house. Just joking. Don't get mad at me. Okay. Why do you get mad? I have the Caucasian. Well, how do you say that again? I'm going to have to get that chick, the young lady, not a chick. I'm going to have to get that chick to tell me again what the meaning is. Anyhow, so remember, we went through in history of this country, we had places for mental health. And they were cruel and unusual punishment, testing on them, zapping their brains, right? All the above, cruel. So there was a massive push in this country to close all of these mental health facilities, the big mental health facilities, the state hospital. You never wanted to go to the state hospital, right? So we closed them. Then we just put them on the street. We closed them because it was cruel. Then we made them homeless. Put them on the damn street, okay? Yeah. If you go to New York City, if you go to LA, you go to most of the homeless population, the homeless people, they are people that probably would be in state hospitals, but we cut the funding. Okay, cool. Close them. Now we're back up to talking about mental illness in this damn country, right? And we're going to shift the funding over to mental illness, and we're going to recreate agencies from way gone back. And is anybody going to watch these agencies to see if they're just stealing the money or taking care of these poor people? Anyhow, we're going back there, right? We're going to cut 1,000 cops here. We're going to cut the cops. Are you looking at in 20 years, and some of us will not be here in 20 years. We won't. But are you looking at 20 years, that president running in 12 years and saying, elect me and I will put police on the street? I've heard that somewhere before. Bill Clinton said that and got elected, right? Cops on the street. Mayor Bill de Blasio supported the $88 billion spending plan, but some critics say the cuts wasn't a billion-dollar cut and merely shifted the police functions. That's what they're saying. Now, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, says it's not enough. We want $2 billion. Just shut the damn thing down. Defund the police. So this is what it could look like. Number 42. Department of Community Safety and Violence Prevention. I want to end this with saying right here, okay? Keep in mind, when you see defunding the police, safety, okay? Safety of New Yorkers, New York will return one day. Safety of New Yorkers, safety in general, clean up the nasty filth in New York City so families and people can live there again and feel safe to live there. Drop the murder rate. When you see all of that going on, and then you think about Black Lives Matter, a domestic terrorist organization, angry mobs that don't pay taxes. When are the taxpayers? See, Mark and Patricia Murkowski are millionaires. Sorry, okay? They have the audacity, so they have the Caucasianity. Is that whatever? To be millionaires in this country. He has the Caucasianity to be, a lawyer that went to law school and opened a practice. He has the nerve to do that. But that being said, okay, them on the front porch, all right, give me number 4. To me, this represents the taxpayers in this country, and they may be standing up now. They may be tired of this, okay? The whole COVID, everything. They may be sick and tired of this, okay? That represents the taxpayers that give the money. Give me number 7. That represents the taxpayers that give the money so you can have a budget in the first place. This represents mob rule, terrorist, thugs that are demanding to steal the money and use it their way. Just saying, because it's not their money. Promise me. It's their country. It's their freedom. And I'll be damned. I'll guarantee out of that crowd right there, 85% don't pay 1 penny in taxes. All right, let's move to another subject. Okay, let's move to another subject. Now, Joe Biden said this, and I want to put this together because we got Georgia House Speaker David Ralston coming up at 9. We're going to move with this one fast. Here's number 37. This is Tony, okay? Okay. This is Tony, Dr. Anthony Fauci. Antonio. This is Antonio Fauci, okay? And this is number 38. Fauci warns U.S. going in wrong direction and could see 100,000 new cases a day. All right, that's what Fauci says. Now, we know Fauci is deep state. He's served 6 presidents. He's been in a deep bureaucracy. He loves the World Health Organization. These are just my comments. But here is, give me Joe Biden. Now, yesterday, Joe Biden. So I showed you Antonio. Now, here's number 31. This is what Biden says about Antonio. The campaign said Biden, if elected, would give Dr. Anthony Fauci, who appears to have sidelined by the administration's response to the pandemic, full access to the Oval Office. Joe will not be running it. Full access to the Oval Office, an uncensored platform to speak directly to the American people, good or bad. If Dr. Fauci is running the country now, and the Biden campaign wants to say, well, Trump's trying to move him away, the deep state there, from this because he never has a positive word about you and I or moving on with our lives, Biden is going to just give him the Oval Office. If Biden's elected, your kids will not go back to school. If Biden's elected, you will not play any high school sports, college sports, if Biden's elected, okay? And he says, Fauci, write me this, and then he makes it an executive order in this country. Wear a mask or go to jail. Now, play the Rand Paul video. I only have time. Here's what Rand Paul says to Dr. Fauci, and I agree wholeheartedly. Let's play Rand Paul's video if you don't mind. Those Twitter videos seem to be hanging up on you. So can you take that out and see if you can get it back in rapidly? Because I want to use that before I go to break. So I'm going to try to get that out, put it back in. They freeze up on the staff there, the Twitter videos. Sometimes they got to work on them to get them to play. I know you're on other networks and they're talking about a bounty, okay? The bounty, the Russian bounty. And while you're trying to get that to play, don't you wish that we would have put a muzzle on this guy long ago? Give me number 23. Don't you wish we would have put it? No, not, well, him too. Lamar Alexander, that's his muzzle, not him. I had somebody else in mind that I wanted. Oh, here we go. Number 36. Don't you wish we would have put a muzzle on this guy a long time ago? Dems demand they hear from intel leaders on Russian bounties after White House briefing. Let me tell you why the bounty, after the Georgia House Speaker David Ralston's interview, I will tell you why the Russian reconnection and the bounty is so important to their news cycle right now, good or bad, and why they're running this narrative to try to tamp down something else that's really happening. Are we able to get the video?
This all begs the question, when are we going to tell the people the truth? That it's okay to take their kids back to school? Dr. Fauci, every day, virtually every day, we seem to hear from you things we can't do. But when you're asked, can we go back to school? I don't hear much certitude at all. I hear, well, maybe it depends. All of this body of evidence about schools around the world shows there's no surge. All of the evidence shows that it's rare. I mean, we've so politicized this and made it politically correct that the WHO releases that it's rare, and you have a scientist up there honestly giving her opinion. What happens to her? She's blackballed, and her report that she refers to is taken off the website. When you go to that scientist's speech and you try to click on the link, the WHO has now screened it from us because it said something that's not politically correct. That, guess what? It's rare for kids to transmit this. But I hear nothing of that coming from you. All I hear, Dr. Fauci, is we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't play baseball. Well, even that's not based on the science. I mean, flu season peaks in February. We don't know that COVID's going to be like the flu season. It might, but we don't know that. But we wouldn't ban school in October. You might close some schools when they get the flu. We need to not be so presumptuous that we know everything. But my question to you is, can't you give us a little bit more on schools that we can get back to school, that there's a great deal of evidence and it's actually good evidence that kids aren't transmitting this. It's rare, and that kids are staying healthy, and that, yes, we can open our schools. It's the chance.
When are we going to tell the people the truth, Dr. Fauci? When are we going to say that the kids can go back to school? If you go back to Friday, if you go to fyntv.com, I want to ask all of you to do this because you think I just come on here and say, go back to school because I'm a right-wing, just radical. I'll say anything. Put the damn kids in school. I don't care how contaminated the hallways, the desks are. Put them in school. Look, I defer to medical. That's a doctor. Let's just say that. Dr. Rand Paul, that's who he is, okay? Is he an ophthalmologist? But he's not Dr. Fauci, Center of Disease and, Disease Control or whatever. But he is a doctor. Now, on Fridays, we do a segment called Ask the Doc, okay? Don't take my word for it. Go to fyntv.com. Go to last Friday, Ask the Doc, click on Ask the Doc, go to last Friday's segment, and listen to Dr. Raymond Tidman talk about going back to school. It's an amazing segment. It's not, and then Rand Paul says, when are we going to tell people the truth, right? When are we going to tell people the truth? When are you going to tell people you can go back to school, okay? So, what is going to happen this fall or summer, because we go back to school in summer, what's going to happen? Because the uptick in the coronavirus information has ballooned just in time for 4th of July. The uptick is just in time for the 4th of July to stop all the parades. All right, so I'm going to go to this right here. Are you able to get, let me give you a little preview. Give me number 2, Sidney Powell, okay? And were you able to get the radio interview? Because I've never sent you really a radio interview. If you can get the radio interview, put it at number 1, okay? Put it at 1 minute and start it, and let me come back so I can give people a little preview of what we're going to do from 9:30 to 10. Can you do that?
What had you found had been going on that had led General Flynn to agree to a guilty plea?
Well, 2 things were especially egregious. One, he was not properly informed of what the government had even disclosed to his defense lawyers prior to the plea. Secondly, the government didn't disclose a fraction of what it should have disclosed, i.e. the whole case was made up. And 3, he was prosecuted and threatened with the prosecution of his son. That's how they coerced and the guilty plea. It was just unconscionable conduct to threaten to indict him and his son the very next day and give them the Manafort treatment if he didn't enter his plea right then.
So we know
and
that...
I'm convinced it was because they knew that press was going to explode with the Strzok page text messages and everything.
All right, so his son, they were threatening to prosecute his son.
Okay, so you plead guilty right now, because if you listen to the media, you will hear, well, Flynn's still a liar. Okay? He's still a liar. Flynn pleaded guilty. He still pleaded guilty. This is an administration cover-up. This is an administration, Department of Defense, Attorney General William Barr abusing his power. Okay? No, it's not. It's returning the power to the people. The FBI comes in. You plead guilty now. We will indict you. We will indict your son. We will ruin you. We will run you through the mill. We will go through every single thing you have, and we will totally destroy you if you don't plead guilty right now. The man did this under distress of our federal agents that are corrupt, and he was going to audit these agents because he knew Brennan was running billions off the books. That's right. Obama knew this. Corruption to the highest level. Do you remember? Anyhow, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to have Georgia House Speaker David Ralston with us. And then after that, at 9:30, we're going to come back to this. And I'm going to play another part in that interview you don't want to miss. Take us to break.
Circuit World has complete queen bedroom packages at amazing prices. Get this queen bed, dresser and mirror, one nightstand, bedding set, and free 32-inch TV, all for only $1799.99 or $129.99 a month. Or get this complete queen bedroom set and sleep in style, also for only $1799.99 or $129.99 a month. What an incredible deal! Stop in today at one of our 5 locations and get the furniture you've always wanted at Circuit World.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
I'm Jeff Riblett, President of Asset Protection Group. As a certified financial planner and with 20 years experience, I've helped thousands of families and business owners create a tremendous amount of wealth. Fortunately, most of that wealth has been protected. Don't allow an unforeseen life event, such as a nursing home stay or the next market meltdown, destroy your family's wealth. Be smart. Call me. Let's determine how best to protect your assets and preserve your wealth.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Okay, folks, we're back. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. A little programming note before we bring our guest in. Pull up number 13. This young man is Madison Cawthorn, I think that's his name, and he won the Republican primary in the 11th District of North Carolina. He will be our guest tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., so don't miss that. Now, bringing in Georgia House Speaker David Ralston. Good morning, Mr. Speaker. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you very much, Brian. It's good to be with you.
Well, you know, a couple unusual things, which for you, you know, every year you hold a pre-legislative session press conference and you open the door and whoever wants to show up and ask questions, you take them. And we get the direction, and I show up for every one of those. We get the direction that the possibly what will happen during that session and what the direction is going. And you had this one, one this past year, but everything changed. When I say everything changed, all of a sudden COVID-19 came in, tax revenue changed, the sequence of what bills needed to get priority. And this is the first time and I hope the last, that on July 1st, we are doing a post-legislative session interview.
Well, I tell people once upon a time, our goal was to finish before Easter and be home. This year, we are going to we have finished, and we will be home by the 4th of July.
Well, that being said, and I want to thank you, because every year after the session is over, you and I sit down and have a conversation, and we go through some bills and let you explain in detail what exactly to expect out of these new bills and what the governor has signed. And this year, and that's usually in April. But let's talk about this. And another thing, getting into the legislation, is we're right up now in July to where you probably were talking with legislators before you leave Atlanta on, hey, what are we going to do in January? Because that's only 6 months away now.
Well, we have been doing that, and a lot of legislation that ordinarily may have been considered. We decided to defer until January, and it's a lot easier to do that when it's 6 months away as opposed to 9 or 10 months away. So we had a lot of those conversations because, when we came back after the suspension of the session, we had 2 weeks. We worked Monday through Saturday of the first week, and then we worked Monday through Friday of last week, right up until adjournment. But I did want to touch on something you mentioned. I mean, this has been an incredibly unprecedented time. When we left in January, March, when we suspended the session, we didn't know how long we would be gone. We didn't know how bad the pandemic would be and how many Georgians would be infected and die. And so, we didn't know if we'd be out 2 weeks, 2 months, or how long. And we ended up being out from March 16th until June 15th. So we had the pandemic, a historic, unprecedented event, with the resulting impact on the state budget, the budget that we had written in the House shortly before we suspended. We basically just had to put through the shredder because it was no longer of any value. And then we had other things that happened too. In early May, we get confronted one evening with a video from down in Glenn County of a shooting of a young African American guy named Ahmaud Arbery, and the attention that brought to not only Georgia but to Glenn County and to some legislative issues was staggering. And that, plus some other incidents, including the George Floyd death in Minneapolis. It's the first time I can recall that we were actually doing a session while there were protests in the street right outside our window at the Capitol. So we had that to contend with. And then we had, a week before we came back, we had a primary. And that had been pushed back from May until June 9th. And it was a primary that drew a fair amount of controversy because of the way it was held in some locations. And so, it was just a combination of all of these things that really made this for a session that will truly be historic.
Okay, so that says a lot for it's an election year. Let's leave session with not too many controversial things going on. that went clear out the window the first of this year. But let me get into the HB 426, the hate crime bill. I've watched a lot. This is the number one that's being talked about in all the media, and I want to get to a couple more this morning. But HB 426, across party lines, I've listened to several. I mean, there was negotiations going on in parking garages between Democrats and Republicans that bumped into each other to talk. It sounded like, and not to put words into your mouth, but listening to a lot of the lawmakers down there, that you had made a decision. We're going to do this, and I'll let you explain, and we're going to all get together and hammer out the details. And it was successful. That the governor's already signed it was successful to be across party lines. So is that somewhat how it kindly took place? Is like, we're going to do this and we're going to get in here and we're not leaving until we hammer this out?
Well, I regret that that's the attitude I had to take, but I had to take that. A little background to House Bill 426. That was a bill that actually passed out of the House in March of 2019, and with on a bipartisan vote. It went over to the Senate, and they took no action on it for over 470 days. And then when you had the Arbery case, it brought such a huge amount of attention onto that issue. I mean, just the evil in that act. And then after the shooting, the shooter stands over the body of Ahmaud Arbery and utters a racial slur as he's dying. It was something that we could not, as a state, I think Glenn County could not, as a community, ignore. I thought it was essential after the Arbery case happened. I challenged the Senate to take the bill up, and frankly, there was a fair amount of reluctance over there. They tried all kinds of versions and permutations of it, and they agreed that our bill was the best bill, and so we were able to pass that out, and Governor Kemp signed it actually on Friday before we had finished the session. So
yes,
I thought it was very important that it be bipartisan. This is not a Republican issue. It's not a Democratic issue. It's not a black issue or a white issue. It's a Georgia issue. And I thought, I simply wanted Georgia just to stand up and say, we're better than this, and we're not going to tolerate this. And they did that. I couldn't have been more pleased with the support in the House. A majority, both the Republican caucus and a majority of the Democratic caucus supported the bill. It passed, as you said, about a 2-to-1 vote. We could not have left the session leaving that hanging with all that had happened down in Brunswick. And so I thought it truly was a momentous day for the state that we were able to get that bill across the finish line.
Mr. Speaker, HB 426, as we hear hate crime bill, there's a lot in there. What specifically, and touch on a couple of things, what specifically does the hate crime bill do? What do the people of Georgia expect to get out of this? Not just a hate crime bill. What's it about?
So what it's about is that if and this is very, very important. Some of the legal parts of the bill kind of got lost out in the politics, but it's very important to note that it's up to a jury to make a decision about whether conduct is motivated by hate or not. It could be hate based on race, gender, religion, nationality, sexual orientation, but the ultimate determining party here is a jury. They hear all of the evidence, and they make a decision. Was this crime motivated by hate? And then if they find that it was motivated by hate, then the court has the ability to enhance any punishment already provided in our law for that crime. You know, I mean, I don't know what more the court could do in the Glenn County case, but in cases of aggravated assault, for example, carries 20 years in Georgia, could get another, I think it's 5 years if a jury found that it was motivated by hate. So it basically gives the jury the ability to pass judgment on the conduct.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, let me get to our next 426. Yes, it was across party lines, but I don't know as of this morning if it's been signed by the governor. But HB 838, which is a new offense, bias motivated intimidation of a police officer or first responder. Now, that one passed along party lines, and my understanding is a lot of Republicans, to get 426 across the finish line, said they needed 838. Now, that did pass. It did pass partisan on party lines. Several years ago, I asked you if you thought the governor would sign something that passed the House, and I'll never forget your answer, but I won't say it here today. What's your indication? Do you think the governor, we're going to get this signed? Because a lot of people are really concerned, because we're here to defund the police, and we're seeing an opposite side of hate. My words. What say you on 838?
Well, I supported 838 because I support our law enforcement officers, our responders. I've passed a lot of measures going back to my days in the state Senate in the late 90s to provide protections in our law for those who protect and serve us. And so I did support that bill. It I think was needed in the environment that we're in, and I separate out the Arbery case, which did not involve a current police officer or law enforcement officer, but I'm more, you know, I guess the George Floyd case, and then later the Rayshard Brooks case here in Atlanta, really caused a divide between some of the vocal people on the left who, for whatever reason, were protesting against the police. You know, we have heard a lot of discussion about defunding police departments and abolishing police departments and replacing them with service departments. I think that would be absolutely tragic. Let me say two other points. Number one, there was an excellent article in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution earlier this week. A number of shootings and deaths by shootings here in Metro Atlanta over the past few days. Little kids gunned down in drive-by shootings, shootings in parking lots. There's been a large number, and you know how many were caused by the police? Zero. Where is outrage over that kind of violence? You know, it's not there. So I think we have to always keep this in perspective. And then the other thing is I saw last week, actually over the past 2 weeks, I saw such an intensity of dislike and opposition to our men and women that wear the uniform uniform and protect from some of those just incredibly sick social media comments from some of these people. Well, you know what you get when you defund the police, Brian? You get anarchy. You get no ability, no mechanism to enforce the law. Nobody is out in care of making sure that crimes are prevented, and if they do occur, that they're investigated. So to the extent that people want to defund the police, I mean, I think that's basically an equivalent to anarchy. And I think we're going to have an opportunity between now and November to have that discussion on a state and national level when you had every single member, hear me again, every single member of the Democratic caucus in the House voted no to that police protection bill.
Yeah, absolutely. I that's why I said it's down party lines. I get it. I mean,
and I think all but every Republican that voted for it. Now we had a few that were out because of illness, and then I think we had one who was running for Congress up in our area. He must have gotten a phone call during the time of that vote because he didn't vote on that one. So I don't want to hear anything about him going to a police rally and telling them how much he supports them when he's never there for them and has never voted for them, not one time, and he's been in the House. But I digress. But we're going to have this debate in state legislative races. We're going to have this debate in the U.S. Senate races, and I think we're going to have this debate in the national election because I think the Joe Biden that's going to be nominated by the Democratic Party is not the Joe Biden that we may have known 10 years ago or 20 years ago. He has become a captive to the extreme left-wing agenda that seems to be running the Democratic Party these days.
Well, and I don't want to get stuck on this. I got a couple more things, but the reality is, obviously Atlanta's a big city. It's a major city in this country. That we're not immune to the protests that are going on in Atlanta, and the Mark and Patricia McCloskey out there in St. Louis are actually an example of the fear I think people have of this creeping out into the suburbs and happening. And you see that in St. Louis this past week. So I think the discussion you're correct on, but my concern is, not just the discussion, that some things start happening that, really shouldn't happen. I want to change gears, and we'll come back to politics in a minute because I wanted to ask you a question, but I want to change gears to something that maybe doesn't get highlighted. And I want to make sure we talk about a bill that may not get a lot of traction in the media. I'm not one for regulation. I generally do not like a bill that has regulations and new guidelines. I'm usually cringe when I see that. But when we put our life into somebody else's hands, then there's a different need for responsibility. And where I'm going with that is HB 987, the senior care homes. The governor's already signed that. I read that bill. And I'm excited about some things that are in that bill now for seniors in Georgia that are living in a senior facility.
Oh, it's a great bill. I helped Chairman Sharon Cooper from Cobb County. This was her bill. She was a great champion for the bill. I think it makes some badly needed improvements in terms of training and staffing and just generally the overall care that we provide to residents of assisted living homes and to long-term healthcare facilities such as nursing homes. It was very much needed. I think I agree with you I think that it is it's a great bill. I was pleased that the governor made a priority of it, signed it early. I think you heard me say before that that I agree with you on regulation. I agree with you on being concerned about the reach of government. But if there are two groups that we have an obligation to, it's the least among us. It's our infants and it's the elderly. And this takes care of goes a long way toward taking care of the elderly who are at a very vulnerable time in their lives.
Mr. Speaker, okay, let me go to business liability. This is a Senate bill, but SB 359. And I'll tell you what, during COVID, and I think we're all together as far as experiencing new things and what we need to do to adjust and move on. But, a lot of business owners I talk to, and I have talked to some people that just, some people are just upset that there's going to be several canceled parades for Independence Day around this country. But the reality is most of those parades take place in downtown business districts and bring thousands and thousands of people. And at this time, there's not really, the businesses do not have really the protection of liability if somebody walks in their store or eats at their restaurant, the liability of it. What do you think is going to take place with SB 359, and do you like that bill?
I do like that bill. That actually, even though it had SB on it, that was actually a House bill that we because we couldn't get the Senate to move on COVID liability, so we had to put that onto a Senate bill to make sure they would act on it. I think it's a good bill. It addresses some concerns that are that I've heard from business owners about are they going to face liability if somebody comes into their retail store or their restaurant or wherever it may be and claim that they have contracted the virus there. I think what it does more than anything is give us stability in a time of great uncertainty, and that uncertainty permeates everything. It is not only in terms of health and our political system, but this gets it into the legal arena. Excuse me, and I like the bill, and I anticipate the governor will sign it.
Okay, I know we're supposed to get out at 9:30. I hope you got just a couple more minutes. I want you to get a comment in on SB 435, human trafficking.
Well, human trafficking is an issue that we've been working on. I've been pleased to have the support of Ivanka Trump on that measure. It's a good bill. What a lot of people don't know, it's kind of a dirty secret here in Georgia, or has been until recently, is that Atlanta and Georgia have become a center of international rings for human trafficking. With we have the airport, which makes it easily accessible for people coming in from other countries. We have the port in Savannah. We've got the extensive interstate system. So, we don't want Georgia to be hospitable to that kind of wrongdoing and just depraved criminal conduct. And so I was very happy with that bill, and I know the governor supports it, and I'm confident that he will sign that one, and probably fairly soon.
All right. HB 888, the surprise medical bill billing.
That's an issue that we have worked on for, 2 or 3 years in the House. It's designed to get at the problem, of patients who go to a medical provider who may be out of network for them, and then they end up getting large medical bills that they have no they're going to be coming. This is going to give some relief to them. And this was truly one of the highlights of the session for, I think, in terms of legislation.
All right, let's move the budget because at a close here, and I want to get the budget in, and then I want to ask you a little bit about the election, if you got a minute, upcoming election here in Georgia. $26 billion budget. Now, when you started in, I do remember our pre-legislative news conference, all around the room, everybody was asking you about the governor's expected budget cuts. So before COVID happened nationally, especially here in Georgia, the Governor Brian Kemp had already asked for 4% and then a 6% and no exemptions budget cut. So that was before you were looking at sales tax revenue from COVID. Now, when you left session, we started getting the numbers in on sales tax revenue. The governor looked at 14%, cutting 14% based on revenue decline. You and I talked one day. You were hoping that 14% was it. So it looks like you come away with 10% in cuts, 2.2 billion spending cuts, $26 billion. What exactly is in that budget with those cuts, and what do you see on the horizon that gives you the comfort just to cut this deep right now and move forward with the budget?
Well, what I see on the horizon is I truly believe that our economy is going to come back stronger, quicker than we thought perhaps 8 to 10 weeks ago. It was based on the most recent revenue numbers that we were able to move from 14, and then he moved down to 11, and then we ended up at 10. Those are still deep cuts, and we were able to our area as well as all over the state. We were able to keep their funding at current levels because I don't think there's a better investment of state resources than in those courts, because if you can keep someone participating in those courts, you're diverting them out of a prison cell where it's going to cost many times more to house them. So I thought on the whole that the budget was far better than I thought it would be when we came back. There was a time when I was looking at the numbers and I thought 14 might be a little low. There's a big difference in 14 and 10. And let me say one other thing, Brian. We couldn't have done this without the vision and leadership of former Governor Nathan Deal, who left more money in our reserve shortfall account that we have had in the history of the state. And we've had to use some of that money. But I just give thanks that he took the lead on that. I supported him in doing it. Little did we know we would end up in this kind of crisis, but that made a huge difference, and I think he's entitled to probably way more credit than he will get for doing that.
All right, elections. I know you got to go. We're sorry we're running late. If you just got a minute, there's two things. Number one, do you feel the House of Representatives, Georgia House of Representatives, that the Republicans that are in some pretty heavy contested areas in suburbs around Atlanta, do you feel good that Republicans will hold the majority in the Georgia House?
I feel better than I did a week ago, frankly. We've got a fight on our hands. I mean, there's no question. This is going to be the toughest election cycle that we have ever seen here in Georgia. We have never seen the likes of the money that's going to be pouring in here. I got a text last night late, Brian, from one of my House members who told me that his opponent has been endorsed by former Attorney General Eric Holder and has opened a headquarters, a full-time headquarters for a state House race in his district. And he said, I'm seeing loads of signs come in here. The National Democratic Party and the liberal progressive interest groups are going to be pouring unprecedented sums of money into these races. I think, though, that we have a record that we can run on with this budget, with the nursing home bill, with the bill we did on maternal mortality, and the fact that Georgia has been the number 1 state in the nation in which to do business for 7 years in a row. You get little glimpses of what the agenda would be that we can compare and contrast to. I've already talked about the fact that every single Democrat in the Georgia House voted against protecting police. Well, when we were going through the budget cut, we decided that it was an appropriate thing to do for every member of the Georgia General Assembly to also take a pay cut, to take a cut to show that we're all in this together. And those members don't make very much money, but still, it was important to them that they show solidarity with working Georgians. And so we passed a bill 2 or 3 days before the end of the session that cut our pay by 10%. Every single Republican voted to cut their pay. Not one Democrat voted to cut their pay. Now, I think that speaks volumes about the kind of approach that they would bring to budgeting and to spending money. I've said this many times. I think people are now starting to believe me. The extreme ultra-left-wing progressive agenda is no longer confined to Washington or to New York or to Chicago or to LA or to Seattle or to San Francisco. It is in the state of Georgia. And so people are going to have a clear choice come November. And when they do, I'm confident that we're going to retain our majority. But we've got a lot of work to do, and the work starts now.
Folks, those at home, the legislative pay cut is Senate Bill 416. If you want to look it up and review that. Also, the one bill that you just mentioned, and I just didn't have time to pull all of them out, that is a very good, the maternal mortality bill is HB 1114. If you want to look at, are you concerned? Do you have any concerns before we go? I know we're running late, and I know you've got somebody probably giving you the wrap-up signal there. But are you concerned with the integrity? Are you concerned with our vote come November, I mean, with their stories, if you research about people finding ballots in boxes and people manipulating outcomes. And I will tell you this, it took a little too long to count the votes, my opinion, in the primary. What's your concern? Do you have concerns in November? Have they been addressed? And do you look for a smoother process?
Well, I'm hoping we're going to have a smoother process, and we are addressing those concerns now because on the day of the primary, I didn't wait. I asked Chairman Shaw Blackman from Denton-Houston County, who chairs our Governmental Affairs Committee in the House, to begin immediately having hearings to, just bring me facts. I don't want preconceived notions about, is this the fault of local election boards or is this the fault of the Secretary of State? Don't take that prejudgment into this thing, but just drill down in this and bring me some facts on where the problems were and what we can do to fix them. And so they've already started that process. I thought it was important that we have an independent investigation rather than one by the Secretary of State or some other group. So we're in the process of doing that now, and I'm hopeful that we will have a smoother operation. Now, I will say one thing. I was very concerned, and I caught a little heat for this, for being on your show and giving my position on mail-in voting, which happened to line up with the president in some ways, although I was more concerned with fraud. But to mail out a application voter in Georgia without someone making application first, I thought it carried the potential for a lot of abuse. It carried the potential for fraud. It carried the potential for vote harvesting. So the Secretary of State has apparently abandoned plans to do applications seeking absentee ballots this time. In other words, absentee ballot voting will go forward just as it has been. Nobody's rights in that regard will be changed. But in terms of, you getting an application saying, hey, why don't you send this in and we'll send you a ballot, you're going to have a little bit of initiative to ask for the ballot, and then you can vote without going. And I know people are concerned about that right now with this pandemic.
We understand there's a need for absentee balloting, and there's a list of a criteria that one should meet that says I cannot get to the polls to do this, and I understand that all too well. But it's going to go back for the general election. What you're saying we need to ask for the ballot. Not everybody's going to get invited to request the ballot like they did before.
Correct.
Anything on the session that we didn't cover today, Mr. Speaker, that you want to make sure that the citizens of Georgia, the viewers, know?
Well, it was a good session for Gilmer and Fannin County in terms of the bond package, which is separate from the rest of the budget. We were able to get the Gilmer County commissioners had requested some assistance with a landfill and pump lift station. We were able to get about $286,000 included in a bond to assist them, and funding for a new renovated Fannin County library of almost $1.4 million. Which I was very happy with. And then back to Gilmer, we had the funding for the new Clear Creek Elementary School of just under $5 million for that. So I think they had a good session. We got a big day coming up in September I'm excited about, with the grand opening and dedication of the UNG Blue Ridge campus up there. And I think that's going to be a transformative thing for our entire area. So a lot of good things going on. I know it's been a tough time, and it still is for many. But we're going to get through this, and we're going to get through it working together, and we all have to pitch in a little bit, but that's kind of what we do in the mountains.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for always coming on, talking to the voters. We'll get you back on real soon. There's a lot of things probably we didn't get into. We'd like to touch at another time, and we know you're busy wrapping up down in Atlanta.
Thank you very much, Brian. Enjoyed being with you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that's Georgia House Speaker David Ralston. We did not get everything in we wanted to talk about this morning. We understand that. I do want two takeaways on this, and we'll come back and discuss it. The bill to cut their pay was totally on party lines. Republicans voted to take a pay cut. Okay? Democrats, party line, keep my money coming. And the second one, the bill HB 838, which is a bill that Republicans said, we got to get this one in or we can't pass the hate crime bill 426, which is a pro-law enforcement bill, okay? Party lines again, Democrats voted no. Keep that in mind as we go to November. We're going to take a break, and we're not done because we got to talk about Sidney Powell and General Flynn when we return. Take us a break.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair, and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Circuit World has 9-piece living room packages at incredible prices. Get this stylish sofa and love seat, 3 tables, 2 lamps, 43-inch 4K TV, and stand, all for only $1699.99 or $129.99 a month. Or get this 9-piece living room and reclining sofa and reclining love seat, now only $1999.99 or $149.99 a month. These packages are amazing. Stop in today at one of our 5 locations and get the furniture you've always wanted at Circuit World.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Ace is your helpful place for paint and home goods, tools, outdoor living, and lawn equipment. But did you know Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge is a little bit more? We have hunting rifles and accessories for your next hunting trip. We have Amish furniture imported directly from Ohio. And we have Ace Custom Woodworks for all your custom wood project needs, from cabinets to artwork. Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge. We have your new house in stock.
As Georgia opens back up, it's time to come back to Day Chevrolet in Jasper. With huge savings on the North Georgia Mountain's biggest selection of pre-owned vehicles. All makes, all models, all with low miles and a super low price. Or buy new and get 0% financing for 72 months on every single Silverado 1500 or Equinox at Day Chevrolet in Jasper. Find new roads.
Circuit World has complete queen bedroom packages at amazing prices. Get this queen bed, dresser and mirror, one nightstand, bedding set, and free 32-inch TV, all for only $1799.99 or $129.99 a month. Or get this complete queen bedroom set and sleep in style, also for only $1799.99 or $129.99 a month. What an incredible deal! Stop in today at one of our 5 locations and get the furniture you've always wanted at Circuit World.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
I'm Jeff Riblett, President of Asset Protection Group. As a certified financial planner and with 20 years experience, I've helped thousands of families and business owners create a tremendous amount of wealth. Fortunately, most of that wealth has been protected. Don't allow an unforeseen life event, such as a nursing home stay or the next market meltdown, destroy your family's wealth. Be smart. Call me. Let's determine how best to protect your assets and preserve your wealth.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Hey, we're back. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. Now, I want to go to this right here, and I want to show you a couple pictures, and I want to tell you why I want to show you this. Now, you know my hero, Sidney Powell. Okay, here it is, Sidney Powell, number 2, right? One of my heroes. And if you're out there, ladies, introduce this woman to defender of law and order, defender of putting back together our criminal justice system. introduce your daughters to Sidney Powell. Okay, so here you go. Number 5, okay, we know Joe Biden is a created candidate in a basement that the deep state wants to get elected because of people like Sidney Powell. And General Flynn, do a little research. Now, right now, we're not making light of anything. So if you have a son or a daughter or a relative or a family member that has been killed in a war in Afghanistan, Iraq, anywhere in the world, we respect you and we want to get to the bottom of it also. But number 15, Biden criticizes Trump's leadership amid COVID-19 outbreak. Okay? This is what the media wants to bring you. I'm not going to have time to do everything. Okay? And I have a closer that you're going to want. They want you to believe number 21. We're going somewhere with this. That this is the polling numbers out there. Now, House Speaker David Ralston says there's 2 bills in Georgia that they can campaign on. Okay? Supporting law enforcement, no Democrats voted for it. Okay? I will tell you that people in the suburbs of Atlanta, people outside of Atlanta are concerned that this is going to come to a neighborhood near them. They want you to believe that this polling data, number 21, is correct. Then there's going to be another bill in Georgia. Hey, we cut our pay. Democrats didn't. All right. Now, number 22, the media is running with this, and I'm not going to make light of this. But remember this right here as I talk to you as we close. Suspicions of Russian bounties were bolstered by data on financial transfers. Okay? So, they want you to believe number 27. 67% of Americans think we're on the wrong track. Number 31, okay, remember number 31, the campaign said, Biden said if elected, he would give Anthony Fauci, who appears to have been sidelined, full access to the Oval Office. Remember that, okay? Number 34, the press secretary says Trump has now been briefed on allegation of Russian bounties. Number 35, White House learned of Russia bounty intelligence in early 19. They want you to believe that. Schiff is back. They've brought back Schiff. Is America going to fall for it again? Dems demand, number 36, Dems demand to hear from intel leaders on Russia bounties after White House briefing. Now, this is a staged planned diversion. Could there be truth to this? But the timing, this is a staged planned diversion. Remember, this comes out right after General Flynn, I'll use as exonerated. And Sidney Powell wins the day. And General Flynn, remember last week, General Flynn's going on Rush Limbaugh's show, Mark Levin, okay? He's able to talk about it now. Remember always when these bombshells come out, what has happened? Always go right before it and see what has happened that they have to create a media lie diversion, okay? Let's see if I have anything else on that. Now, what are they diverting your attention away from once again? Go back to that radio interview, okay? And I think it's at 9:10 when we wanted it to start. Hit that for a minute. Play Sidney Powell at 5:10. I think that's it until I give you the high sign to come back.
In case they might need to interview him later.
Wow. So Flynn was part of the insurance policy.
Definitely.
All right. And you've said this, you've spoken about this before, but General Flynn was being targeted because he had pretty much the exact opposite view of foreign policy as the rest of the embedded bureaucratic deep state.
Yes, and he was a Democrat. He was Obama's head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, but he saw what was going on with ISIS and the war in Afghanistan. He started speaking out about that. In fact, you can read his interview before he left with, I forgot who was doing the interviews for the agency, but there's an extensive interview on the Washington Post website under their Afghanistan Papers research project. And his interview is there, and it's very damning.
So we have the Russia speech as a pretext to investigate Flynn. Flynn being particularly dangerous because he knew where the bodies were buried, and he had a very Trump friendly view of foreign policy. He also could have been dangerous in being able to be direct, accurate, and highly critical of the previous administration, the Obama administration.
And he was going to audit the intel
and he was going to audit
because he knew about the billions Brennan and company were running off books.
That's an excellent point, because then he potentially was going to expose Brennan for the sleazebag snake that he has been since he has been in government. So potentially Brennan gets run up the flagpole if General Flynn is allowed to advise President Trump in the capacity that he would have were he not sidelined. Okay, let's get to whole case made up. That was number 2 that you said. Whole case was made up. A lot of Americans don't believe that the government would make up the whole case. But as I've been following this, it certainly does look like the whole case was made up. Why did General Flynn plead guilty?
Because he did not feel like he had any other option given the destruction being dealt him.
And that was, and where his attorneys were not helping him?
No. In fact, we've filed a significant briefing showing ineffective assistance of counsel and their conflict of interest that was non-consentable because they did the FARA registration, the Foreign Agent Registration Act thing for him that wound up in the crosshairs of special counsel. So the choice they wound up with was, do we subscribe to the government's theory of Flynn lied to his lawyers, or do we run the risk of being indicted or charged in a crime fraud order with respect to the FARA registration?
So his attorneys were compromised right out of the box, which is why it was a good thing that he fired them and hired you. Let's talk about how they made up the whole case, because as you...
Destiny, hold that interview. Do not lose that interview. Put it up. Hold that email. We're going to come back to it tomorrow, okay? You wonder why this guy shows up? You wonder why this guy shows up? Where is he at? Where is this jackass? Where's he at? Okay, number 36. Do you know why number 36 shows up right now? Dems demand to hear intel leaders of Russia bounties. This lady, do you believe she has the nerve to go on and publicly say Flynn was a Democrat? General Flynn was a Democrat. They knew he was going to audit billions of dollars that had been run off the books. Billions of your dollars that had been run off the books. Now, billions of dollars run off the books. He was concerned about ISIS. He was concerned about Afghanistan. And here you got a piece of SHI Brennan running a billions of dollars operation. You got Clapper. This was all the way up to Obama. Billions of dollars off the books. Your kids are getting killed. Your kids are being in war with ISIS, Afghanistan. But Russia put bounties on your kid's head. But if it comes down to Brennan, this piece of SHI along with Clapper and Obama and the insurance policy, all of them, and Flynn was going to audit. He was going to come in with Trump, and he was going to audit the intel because he knew billions was off the books. You know what those billions are off the books? It pales in comparison. This on the screen, right or wrong, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying any kid should have got killed and there should be a bounty and Putin should put a bounty on our kids. But let me tell you something, folks. We ain't got time. It's 10:01. Let's come back tomorrow and talk about what the CIA in this country has done around the world. We have put, we have put our share of bounties out there. Trust me, CIA, oh, hell yeah. But, hey, Flynn, we have a lawyer for you. Hey, listen, Michael, don't stand a chance. Let's just give me $7 million and I will not represent you and I will destroy you. Okay, that's good defense. That's a good legal defense. Sidney Powell actually puts it out fearlessly. The intel community he was going to audit billions off the books. and your kids are debt through the roof, and your kids getting killed, why these people in intel agencies, shadow governments, really in this country? I'm your host, BKP. I'll be back tomorrow morning. First of all, put up number tomorrow at 9 o'clock, number 13, Madison Clawthorne will be our guest. He is the Republican candidate in the 11th District of North Carolina at 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. He'll be our guest. What do you say, folks? What do you say? Take a break. Let's just take a break, and we'll be back tomorrow at 8. Great job.